Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Scholz, your designated chairman of the day, and we're going to kick off the keynote panel, The Role of E-Commerce in Driving B2B Sales. I'm joined by a rock star panel, and we're going to be talking about kind of like how we rethink sales strategy from traditional to online buying. And we're also going to be looking at how do we identify the best technologies to enhance the customer B2B buying journey. So first question, jumping right into it, looking at introductions. So if you could introduce yourself, kind of like your role, your company, and where you are on the map when it comes to e-commerce.
My name's Steve Grimkowski, and I'm the Senior Director of eCommerce. So I basically lead the e-commerce practice for Bearings Distributors International, BDI. We're in 12 countries. We're in about 12 languages, lots of different currencies. We've had e-commerce for about 12 years. Replatformed it 10 years ago to go into all the other different countries. And we're always looking at trying to make e-commerce more user-friendly, easier use for our customers.
Yeah, awesome. John, how about yourself?
Thanks, Michael. I'm John Pinella. I'm Group Vice President of Publicis Sapient, one of the largest agencies / SIs globally doing commerce. I'm also the chairman of the Mock Alliance, for those of you that are familiar with that. I've been at Sapient for over 20 years, been running the commerce practice for the last 15. And we certainly see a shift in what's going on today. B2B used to be a very small part of our business. Folks traditionally had legacy solutions that they were doing things with. Now, more and more, I would say even probably half of our pipeline and inbound leads are around B2B, because the focus is how do you take advantage of composability? How do you take advantage of modern technology to be able to drive that customer experience and drive sales that we'll be talking about today?
Yeah, awesome. How about yourself, Ellie?
I'm Ellie Finkelstein. I'm one of the co-founders of a... Oops. This needs to be higher. Is this all right? I can just hold it like this while I talk. I'm Ellie. I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Constructor. We do product discovery for some of the largest e-commerce websites in the world. You've probably never heard of our company, but you've probably used the software. If you ever shopped on places like Petco or Sephora.com or Lego, you've used the software without realizing it. On the B2B side, places like Fisheries Supply or Evergreen. We only work with commerce companies. We only work with large commerce companies. And I'm excited to be here and get to participate with this.
Awesome. Chris.
Hey guys, Chris Baltuznik, e-commerce transformation and operations leader at Owens Corning. I apologize for all the buzzwords. The way is e-commerce and digital, people love buzzwords, don't we? I've been loving hearing everyone's titles these past few days. But so at Owens Corning, we are a large-scale manufacturer of insulation, roofing, and composites products. If you heard of Pink Panther, that's our brand. Previously, I've been in e-commerce for about 10 years now. Started an agency, then worked for B2C at Goodyear Tire. Now I am leading e-commerce strategy at Owens Corning, which I typically break up into 3 different categories of helping our customers grow, protecting long-term profitability, and exploring new verticals that possess large-scale opportunities for incremental revenue.
So Chris, you have, as you said, you have experience in B2C and B2B. What are the sales and growth strategies that B2Bs can adopt from B2Cs? Like, what's your experience that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of differentiators, but there's a lot of similarities. Like 10 years ago in B2C, we're seeing a lot of the same challenges, the same new strategies that are going on in B2B today. So I think 2 major differentiators are the way in which products are searched and where search is occurring, and sales cycle as well. So I'll give you, for instance, at Goodyear, when looking at search, when looking at SEO, they were, we were kind of a broad range of categories. So we were bidding on terms of tires for Mercedes, tires for Ford, cheap tires, affordable tires, etc. And then based on that, we determined there was about a 10-day cycle. So when people search for tires to when they transact. So we had 10 days to capture that sale. So we would focus on bottom funnel strategies like retargeting. So if you go to Goodyear.com and then you go to Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called these days, Instagram, we were hitting you in the face every day with like an ad to try to get you to convert within that 10-day span. So sorry about that. But we did have a lot of success through those campaigns. Now, when you look at B2B in terms of search, it's a more technical search that we're bidding on. It's a more specific search that we've determined. For instance, a good year it was tires. At Owens Corning, we're looking at 6-inch flex duct for application of basements, attics, whatever it is. So that's where we need to play. And then as far as the sales cycle goes, it's it's not necessarily a buy now tactic. It's an education tactic. It's a quote tactic. It's a driving consumers to our partners' websites where they sell our product through their e-commerce sites, because we're not direct to consumer. So I would say that those are probably two main things that people need to be focusing on right now in B2B.
Awesome. And Ellie, because obviously Chris brought up the search topic, like what do you've learned? I think you historically started out with B2C search, right? And you're sort of moving into B2B. Like, what are the strategies that you apply for your customers?
Yeah, so there's a few things. I mean, sorry, can you folks hear me? I'm not sure if
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Holding this up the whole time just in case. In terms of differences, first of all, I mean, like on the B2B side, on the B2C side, I think it's more often about discovery. Like, people aren't sure exactly what they want to buy. On the B2B side, it's much more often about finding specifically, like you were mentioning this example of these very, very specific searches. People know exactly what they want to buy. They just need to find it, and they need to find it with the availability that's available for them. They need to find it with the price that's available for them. In terms of the similarities, I think that one thing that B2C already went through this journey of is they started off with the idea of you just want to like come back with products that are relevant. And then since then, they've evolved into you want to optimize for a business metric. So you figure out what that business metric is, like whether it's optimizing for revenue, whether it's optimizing for profit, for conversions, whatever it is. And then you use a machine learning platform to show the products that best optimize for that. And like, that's a solved problem. I mean, that's a nearly solved problem. It's a problem that people have been working on for a very, very long time. We've gotten pretty good at it. On the B2B side, I think because we're still getting early into this, people are still kind of trying to do the boilerplate. Like, it's like, can I show the products that have availability for a given account? Can I show the right price for a given account? Like, that stuff's important. Of course, we should do it. Like, that's step one. But it's like, at least to me, that's not enough. And I think the B2B is going to go through that same journey that B2C went through. And so you can either, take all of the steps the B2C went through, or you can kind of jump the competition.
What about you, Chris? Have you taken any sort of B2C ideas, strategies for your company?
Definitely. Our website is B2B and B2C, although B2C is a very small percentage of the market share. It brings in a lot of our new customers. So somebody might come to us, not even know who we are, but do a Google search for a part, find out it's on our website, get on there, make their first purchase, and now we've got a lead to send a salesperson out there. We've got a very large direct sales force, and to take that customer, find out can we sell them a lot of things? Can we turn them into a B2B purchaser? So yeah, B2C is all about kind of bringing in new customers from our perspective, although we do sell to people that, aren't really companies, but most people buy from us as a company. But once they're B2B, yeah, it's about making the transaction easy. It's about having everything exposed to them that they buy from us. I mean, might be stuff beyond our catalog that their local branch office can get. Make sure they can see that on the website, even though they might be the only ones that can see that on the website. Make it easy for them to buy from previous orders, and make the transaction as seamless as possible.
And John, 20 plus experience seeing both sides of the business model. What are your sort of key findings?
Well, I loved what Ellie said about the idea of, we've gone through the B2C maturity curve. Now we're going through the B2B one. I think the big difference for someone like us at Publicis Sapient is how do we help clients leapfrog that? We did a study a while back that most B2C users on their mobile device only use 5 to 9 shopping sites. If you're not in that top 9, you're not going to be noticed. You're not going to have a regular relationship with that consumer. And it's all about relationship. Well, the reason why I think we've got a leapfrog, to your point, Ellie, is we don't have the time that we had while we were maturing through B2C for folks to truly, learn and get familiar with it. They're already there. The folks that are buying in B2B, they're buying in B2C today. They expect those same experiences. They expect that same personalization. So from our perspective, our role is to really ensure that we're there to help them get to that point very quickly so that they do have the opportunity to differentiate sooner versus later.
Okay. And Chris, next question to you, how many digital sales channels do you have? What does omni-channel mean to you, and how do you drive great customer experience through those channels?
Yeah, so omni-channel for me is developing a strategy of new verticals that we can sell in to be successful. So I think there's similar strategies within B2C and B2B. So for example, today, we, through search, through market size, through actual transactions, we've determined that Amazon is actually a big player of our building materials space. The category is huge, the revenue is huge. And so it's been an avenue that we haven't wanted to ignore. Now, I know when I say Amazon, a lot of people in the audience may scoff and say, we don't even want to think about Amazon. It's a competitor, channel conflict. But I think the importance of developing an Amazon strategy, it's here. It's not going anywhere. Amazon B2B is taking off. So we've saw that building materials on Amazon in our categories are growing anywhere from 20% per category to 250% per category. So we need to figure out what we need to do to not necessarily play in that market, but control that market. So for instance, by developing an Amazon strategy, I'm not saying you need to transact on Amazon. I'm not saying you need to list products on Amazon. But for us, it could be as simple as we need to control Amazon. We need to see who's selling on Amazon. For all you manufacturers out there, I'd challenge you to look at, go and search your products on Amazon and see who's selling and how they're being detrimental to your brand. And then the strategy could just be to kick those people off the site to help protect MAP, to help protect brand erosion. But just in that sense, I think that we need to understand that these verticals are growing, our products are being transacted there, our categories are seeing significant growth, and we need to develop a strategy to build around that to grow with the platforms.
Yeah. Same question to you, Chris. What are you thinking about omni-channel? Or not Chris, Steve, sorry. How do you define omni-channel? How many sales channels do you have?
Okay. Yeah, I would say the big thing about omni-channel is making sure the customer gets the same answer no matter how they ask the question, whether it's about price, availability, what can you sell to us, whether they call their salesperson or they go on the website or they use a mobile device, making sure that all those touch points, the price is the same, and that might sound simple, but a lot of times it's the sales guy negotiated a price with a customer, making sure they put that price in our back-end system so the next time we go to the website, they see that price. So it's tying those together and trying to get some synergy between them. One area of concentration for us is going to be using more of the analytics from our website to help feed our salespeople so that they've got more ideas about what to talk to the customer about based on their behavior on the website. We do chat, desktop, mobile device, like I said, phone, even fax. Some customers fax in their orders. We've looked at using AI to maybe, take that faxed order and turn it into, a list of parts from our catalog. So yeah, we can always get better at it, but multi-channel is a big deal for us.
Yeah, and Ellie, how do you as a search vendor, how do you provide search relevance in the different channels that you serve for your customers?
Yes, so it's interesting. One of the things that's been most fascinating for us within B2B is that you get this additional layer of personalization there that you don't get in B2C. So as an example, let's say that Chris and I worked at the same company. Does that tell you anything about what kind of clothes we wear? Probably not. We could have completely different styles, right? And it doesn't really say anything that we work at the same company about what we're going to buy. But let's say that we work at the same company and we're both, building, let's say fishing boats, something like that, like one of our companies does. Does it tell you anything about what kind of supplies we buy for that because we work at the same company? Actually, absolutely it does. We probably have standardization there. We're probably buying very similar things, and you know that because we work at the same company. You've got this layer of account-based personalization that doesn't exist on the B2C side, but it does exist on the B2B side. And the cool thing is, at least in the early A/B test that we've run on this, it's actually quite valuable. So this customer that I was alluding to, fisheries supply beforehand, the thing that they cared about increasing was revenue. When they ran an A/B test with us, and we encourage everybody to run an A/B test with us if you do wind up using it, we want to prove that we can do what we say we do, not just that like the basics are there, but we're actually going to increase a business metric for you. When they ran it, they saw that revenue actually did increase. If I remember right, you can find the case study on our site, it was like 15%. But the place where it increased the most was on their biggest accounts, the ones where there were the most people and buying the most, and it's because of that level of personalization. We just learned so much about those accounts because so many people were buying so often that we were able to really well figure out, okay, what else can we recommend to those people that maybe they don't know that we sell? And that was an extra advantage there that I thought was really, really cool.
And John, like you had a few points earlier around how can you drive amazing customer experience across these different channels?
Yeah, so I mean, real quick, I just want to hit on a point Chris made around Amazon. You know, Amazon is obviously a key channel for folks in B2B as well as it is in B2C, but it's not the only channel that you need to be thinking about nowadays. Hyper-personal, hyper-verticalized marketplaces. I'm sure there are plenty of building materials marketplaces that you've got to participate in from an Owens Corning perspective. And your point around the data being right, when you talk about customer experience, to me, the key is no matter what that channel is, no matter what touch point you're with that consumer, they're buying through the marketplace, they're buying through Amazon, they're buying direct from your site. It's got to be the same data, it's got to be consistent data, it's got to be the same pricing, to your point, from that perspective. And so when we think about it from an experience perspective, engaging experience, obviously everybody wants, you know, the Apple experience, the engaging experience with your consumer. But to me, the really critical thing is making sure it's a consistent experience. Same data, same look and feel, same brand presentation. If I do a search on Amazon or I do a search on your site, I hope I come up with the same things from that perspective. And it's hard to manage that. It's hard to control that. You don't have control over everything that goes on in Amazon when you've got other people selling it. Your distributors out there selling it their ways. So the more you can wrangle that control of both content, pricing, and searching, the better off you're going to be, because then it doesn't matter what touch point they hit at, they're going to end up at the same product.
Yeah, great point. Chris, you mentioned you had multiple channels, you talked about Amazon. How do you prioritize? Like, where do you put your bets? Do you have different go-to-market strategies for either of them?
Yeah, that's a great question. John, you just hit the nail on the head. It's not just Amazon. It is developing a marketplace strategy that is consistent. I use Amazon as an example because it possesses such a large incremental revenue opportunity. But you know, there's plenty others out there that do the same that we're exploring in the same way. And then, Michael, to answer your question, as I look at what I said at the beginning is I break down, and I'm doing this through a marketplace strategy as well. Everything that I'm doing is focusing on customer growth, protecting profitability, and exploring new channels of growth. So that channel of growth, you know, marketplaces, Amazon, we've seen the growth opportunity on an Amazon, and we need to develop something that can play with Amazon for protecting profitability, just sticking with the same bucket of Amazon. That's where we control the brand. That's where we're building an authorized reselling program to be able to go after these unauthorized sellers who are not abiding by MAP policy, who are not abiding by any packaging restrictions. So we see on their PDPs, people saying in the comments section, don't buy here, horrible product. We need to control that because that's our name, that's our brand. It could be a huge contractor that's buying from Amazon of our product that are saying, that's it, I'm never buying Owens Corning again, because they associate that seller with our brand. So not only does that help protect our long-term profitability at Owens Corning, it helps protect our customers' profitability as well. So going to my next and most important bucket of helping our customers grow, we're trying to be the subject matter experts of Amazon, of all other marketplaces. We want to be able to do this we can develop a product segmentation strategy. where we sell direct on Amazon for certain products with less channel conflict. But really, we want to use these channels to help grow with our customer, with our partners. So we want to be able to give our partners the tools, assets, whether that's content, digital marketing help, anything that's needed to enable them to be able to sell in partnership with us on Amazon. So through authorized reselling, we onboard our customers, our key customers who want to exceed growth expectations, and then they actually sell on the channel that we had built out on Amazon, and we're able to give them just category sizes, 5-year projections per category, and be able to enable them to grow. So when our partners grow, we grow. When our partners are happy, we're happy. So we're doing this in conjunction with our customers, so to mitigate channel conflict and to grow together, as opposed to us just saying, we're going to explore this channel on our own.
How about you, Steve? How do you look at different channels? How do you prioritize them? Do you have different go-to-market strategies for them?
Well, yeah, I mean, we used to be all direct to customer or big sales force. We still got a great sales force, and really the strength of our sales force is they've got a lot of expertise in manufacturing operations, and we're manufacturing operations, MRO goods. So they'll go into the factory, they'll figure out what they're using, they'll try to recommend other products that might last longer, might be lower cost, total cost of ownership, and so forth. So that was our traditional channel to market, but now more and more customers are doing their transactions on the website. So they still have their sale. The big customers are still going to have their account team helping them, but for the routine orders, they come online, and that's a big part of that. We've been on a few marketplaces. We tried on Amazon and eBay, never became a significant portion of our sales. We'd rather really build our own website and get our customers coming back there, where they can also get their invoices. They can do a lot more value-added things while they're on the website. So that's our strategy right now, is more relying on our own e-commerce site.
And John, what do you see across your plethora of customers? Like, how do your customers prioritize channels? How do they manage different relationships?
It varies pretty widely. I mean, you hear it between these two, of how they prioritize the channel. I think from our point of view, the key is you got to have the flexibility to be able to prioritize that channel. And I don't want to bring this down into a deep technology discussion, but thinking about how you take advantage of composability, of modern architecture, of being able to build a solution and enable a solution where I want to spin up a new channel. I need to work with a retailer and I'm going to somehow be tied to their POS. I'm going to, create a mobile app as well as mobile web from that perspective. I need to have the flexibility to be able to touch my customer wherever they are. The ideas of being able to take advantage of modern architecture and composability, so you can plug in a better search engine when you need to, so you can plug in a different commerce engine when you want to. Make sure you're thinking future-proof in being able to enable. So many B2B companies do acquisitions all the time. When I acquire a company, I don't want to take 2 years to be able to onboard them to what's going on in the organization. Think about putting together an architecture and a solution from a composable manner that allows you to bring those pieces together.
Okay, awesome. And Chris, if I can go back to you, as you develop your strategies, your long-term strategies, vision, how do you make the right bets for your investments, and how do you measure success?
Yeah, and that's a tough question, because obviously in terms of ROI, KPIs, when we do things like marketplace selling, for instance, we can track sales. Like, that's an easy thing. When we do digital marketing strategies, we can build revenue logic to say traffic equals X amount in revenue. Another not as easy thing, but something we can do. Now, when you're looking at investments like a PIM implementation, something like that, now that gets really granular in terms of trying to figure out how to tie revenue and KPIs and ROI to that. But I would say that we all need to be doing that to the best of our abilities to tie revenue to investments. It helps us really just build credibility internal within the organization, helps us with our long-term strategy. If we can say this PIM implementation is costing us this, but is giving us this X amount of dollars, it helps us for our future strategies. It helps us gain trust in the organization. So then when we say AI is coming, we want to invest in AI, for instance, we need to be doing everything we can to get there. That helps develop trust within the organization to say, all right, with their investments, they can show revenue, so we'll be able to give them higher budgets for now their newer asks, which sets us up for success in long-term like technological advancements and strategies.
And Ellie, like we had a conversation not too long ago where we talked about in this modern commerce stack, in this composable architecture, because everything is decoupled and expendable to a certain degree, every vendor needs to prove its value. Like, how do you measure success as a company of your size and scale?
Yeah, so I think that how we measure success doesn't matter nearly so much as how our customers measure success. Like, if our customers measure it and they're happy with it, wherever their business metric is, like, they should tell us and we should be there to prove it to them. I think one of the biggest things that I hope that people realize about search is, like, in an ideal world, this is a profit center. This is something where you should be making back more than what you're spending on it, and we should be there to prove it. And if we're unwilling to do that, then you should probably find another partner. And so the way that you do that is, like, you can do it across all the different facets within search. And one of the interesting things I think that we haven't talked about, it's kind of more obvious on the search side, but, like, one of the interesting things I think we haven't talked about is you have some of these pieces that you can apply across channels. So like a PIM is a good example. Attribute enrichment is another great example. You know, we're all here talking about Gen AI all day. Like, that's something that I think it's maybe a little bit less flashy than some of the other things that are coming out of it, but, like, it's a big problem within B2B, right? Whether you're a distributor or whether you're a manufacturer, like, you've often got not the best product data. It's being tagged by humans. It's often being incomplete. It's often wrong. With generative AI, you can have that thing look at, let's say, like a screw, and you can tell, you know, is it Phillips head or is it flathead? And if it was tagged beforehand as one of those, and you can tell by the image that it's the wrong one, you can automatically correct that. And how do you measure it? Well, you can, again, A/B test it. Or if you're doing it via like Amazon or something like that, do it to half your products. See what happens. See how they convert compared to the other half. At the end of the day, like, all of these things that at least we're doing, and I know you can't do it everywhere, but it's one of the things that I feel strongly about for our company is, like, we want to be a profit center. We want to prove to you that whatever you're paying us, you're making 10x more back.
Yeah. And Steve, Chris, any examples of how you're using Gen AI to drive B2B sales? Any experiences?
Well, we're actually looking at applying AI to search. So that's, you know, kind of the next step. And then once we get that on the search, product recommendations, looking at what, you know, similar companies bought. Again, it's to try to increase their average order value. But, you know, using the language capabilities of AI to give a better search result, we see as a key thing.
Chris.
Maybe even sourcing eventually, because we'll source just about anything for any customer, but finding a good price, close location, something they can ship today.
Yeah. Chris, any applications of Gen AI at Owens Corning?
You know, we're still in the discovery mode. I would say we're more so looking to be a fast follower as opposed to an early adapter in that field. Now there's some strategies that we're using. We're like kind of more so smaller. I wish we, would accelerate that a little faster, and I think we will as time progresses, as everybody else will. But right now, I'd say we're kind of like slow moving.
Yeah. We only have 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to ask kind of like a summary question, but anything you want to call out, any learnings, any insights, anything that you predict for the future, how you can drive B2B sales? Maybe just like a half a minute each?
Okay, I would say knowing the customer, and you've heard that again and again at this conference, how do they want to buy? You know, we got punch out, we got EDI, we got going to the catalog, we got direct sales. So understanding the customer, especially in the B2B space, to make it easier for them to buy. Now into the future, I think artificial intelligence, there's going to be so much of that we can utilize to automate things and make, if you can predict what the customer wants to buy next, put that right in front of them, it makes the transaction easier. And maybe it can discover things that we're not selling to them that we could be selling to them. Right. So I look toward that in the future.
John?
The 2 points I'd hit on is back to the point of consistent experience. Own that customer. You guys have a unique space in B2B where the customer has a pre-existing relationship with you in many cases. Know them and make sure that experience is consistent. And the second one that I don't think we've talked a lot about is the idea of leveraging data. One of the things in B2B that always amazes me versus B2C is the amount of data you have about your customers, your products, your channels, and so forth. Use that data in the right way. I'll tell a 30-second story about using data wrong. I was working with a B2C customer in the pet care business, and I'm a regular customer of them, and we have cats. We have only cats. I go shop there all the time and buy stuff for my cats. They sent me a personalized offer to buy a chicken coop. And it happened to be a client of ours. So I went to the head of e-commerce. I said, you know I have cats. I use your loyalty program all the time. Make sure you should be acknowledging that. He comes back to me a couple days later. He says, you live in zip code 76028, right? I said, yeah. He said, that's a rural zip code. So we said, you might want a chicken coop. And I said, well, my cats might like it, but I wouldn't like dealing with it afterwards. Use data properly. That's something you have that B2C companies are still struggling with. Use it in such a way that you engage those consumers in a very, very personalized manner.
Okay, Ellie, minus 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know. I'll be quick. I mean, I'll repeat myself from before. I know I sound like a broken record, but I think it's the most important thing. Measure what matters. At the end of the day, like right now, everybody is talking about AI. Literally every company here, I think, has some AI something. Nope. It's really easy to put an AI sticker onto your website and say, oh, we do AI now. And like, sure, you can go back in time. You can see like, were you doing it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And that might be a worthwhile thing to do as well. But at the end of the day, like we should be able to win. Like we should be able to win in these A/B tests. We should be able to show you that when you're measuring what matters, we can drive more of it for you than anybody else. And I think that makes like companies like mine's life harder, but it also means that we get better and we get better together with you folks. And at the end of the day, you don't know that this is that this is not just an empty investment. This is something that actually drives the ROI that you're looking for when you're talking about these flashing subjects like Gen AI.
Chris.
And quickly, I think we're all saying the same things here. Customer focused, right? Understand your customer, understand what your customer wants, understand their buying habits, and be there to support that. So whether that's just in B2B, there's a big like education play. I call it robo research offline or research online by offline, right? So be the best education tool that you can possibly be. Look at the tools accessible to help drive conversion. Is it a project calculator tool that you can implement onto your website? Or is it just like buy now, pay later tools, for instance, that can attract a different demographic or increase conversion at a high rate? Just understanding where your customers are doing, I think is going to play a pivotal role in the growth of your digital channels.
Okay, awesome. I think there's no really a silver bullet, but we talked about personalization, we talked about search, we talked about different other strategies on how we can increase revenue in the B2B space. Thank you so much for our panel. And we're going to have Michael Sinaway from LucidWorks coming up, giving a presentation on Gen AI and what it means for everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.